people don't realize how easy it is to make a call look and sound like it's coming from your bank. They
Mhm.
don't realize that the caller ID is set by the caller and not by their carrier. If I have a call come through T-Mobile, T-Mobile doesn't choose what I see on the caller ID. The caller, their company does, and there's countless companies that are corrupt and or compromised, and you can just type whatever you want, and they'll send it out the wire. It goes out a certain network and back in a different point to clear away bad information. It's pretty tricky what they're doing now, but the bottom line is that they can make it say anything they want, and they have recordings of what the bank sounds like when they call about a certain thing. So
Mm.
there's these bots. You
Mhm.
can hit these bots can hit lots of people really fast.
Hello and welcome to the Smarter Online Safety Show. I'm your host, Jocelyn King, the Queen of Online Safety. So, welcome, Travis Simcox. He is a threat hunter and he is the real deal. He leads a threat management team at a risk management company. So, he's on the front lines every day seeing the new scams, the new hacks, the new phishing kits, the new everything. He's eavesdropping on the bad guys to find out what, the new techniques are that they're doing. So, he has his finger on the pulse of cybercrime and on everything that's coming to get people like you. So, welcome, Travis. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's a really exciting field. I do my 9 to 5 work, but then the rest of my life is really a lot of it is revolved around the field. My friends are the same as my professional circle. We go to conferences like DEF CON in Las Vegas every year, and we participate in contests. And then outside of that, I've recently started a YouTube channel and a blog where I do some deep dives. They're pretty technical, but we look at the latest attacks that are going on right then, not a month ago, but right now. And it's pretty exciting. So it goes
You're
beyond what
keeping you're
I,
keeping all the cybersecurity professionals current so that they can protect all of our listeners in whatever jobs they're doing.
that's the goal. Yeah,
Mm.
I used to do this with my team and present it internally for the firm. Well, I still do, but I always said to myself, I wish I could reach more people because we're seeing some things that sometimes no one else has seen. We get demos from these attack developers, and I started realizing I'm looking at these with my analyst, my threat analyst, and we're seeing that the view count starts at 0 when we see it, and it goes up to around 20 by the time the demonstration gets taken offline. And we realize we were the first people outside of the attack developer in Eastern Europe that just saw that attack. It was
Wow. So
exciting, and I wanted to get a bit of a more reach.
that is awesome. That is so fascinating. So we're going to get in a moment to what is actually coming and what people need to know is happening right now. But before we do that, tell us a little bit. I mean, you've got a fascinating, day-to-day life seeing all of this stuff. What is a kind of typical day? And when you say you're getting to see these things live, tell us about that. I mean, why are people showing them to you? Why are the attack developers letting you in on this?
Well, our typical day starts early in the morning. I go through my Telegram channels and forums. Of course, all these use sock puppets, different identities on different phone numbers run through different countries and everything to be safe. But I go through the latest intel, then I meet with my team and look at things that have come into our company's environment, emails, other alerts, all sorts of signals. We look at quite a few different signals every day to triage them on risk. But that means we get to look at the latest phishing kits that are actually coming in, latest attacks of different sorts, and we go through those, we prioritize them. The fun part, though, not just looking at those attacks, but we develop every 2 months a different threat hunt that focuses on a different type of threat. And we do 10 different hunts. Right now, we're focusing on a North Korean organization, famous Kolima. They've been in the news quite a bit because they have a couple different tactics they're using. They're getting jobs at IT companies under false identities, and they're also spreading malware. They have two different programs they run there.
So just so our viewers following along, who some are in cybersecurity, but most are just listeners who want to get safer. What does that look like? You're talking about when you get that text message or email that says, "Oh, there's this job opportunity, and we saw your profile, and it's inviting you to apply for something." Are you talking about those types of phishing or something else?
Most of those are what's called a task scam, or it's a fake check. So with task scams, they tell you it's a few hours a week, you can make a lot of money, and you sign up for this task website they send you, and you complete these easy tasks. It's post a review or put a rating on this game or these simple tasks,
Hmm.
and they make it look like they're sending you money. They might even send you a little bit of money,
Hmm.
but then you hit a roadblock where they require you to make a deposit to get to the next level of the program and make more money.
Hmm.
And they'll keep taking people in as far as they can until that person either realizes it's a scam or they run out of money to put into the program and find out they can't withdraw their earnings. So that's what most of those text messages for job offers are. The other
Thank you.
one,
Well, let's pick on that one more thing. So
okay.
that's one thing that people are not always aware of. They think, okay, I checked it out. Oh, but I am getting paid, so it's legitimate. And so they put their guard down, right? Because they're going, oh, this isn't
Yeah,
a scam because I actually got money from them, not realizing that that's just the good faith so that they'll drop their guard and then pay money to the scammers. And it's basically a Ponzi scheme in a way, in that they're taking money, they're giving you some money, but they're taking money from you and they're making you invest more than you're ever going to get from them. Is that right?
right. And a lot of scams, they seem, well, why don't people understand that? Why don't they pick up on it? But the big picture is there's a lot of social engineering aspects. They're experts on social engineering. They'll have 100 bots that are pretending to be other people making all this money and buying new cars. And they can point, see, this person is on the next level. They're making all this money. This person's on this level, but they're all just bots, and they spin up a new Telegram channel next week once people figure out the scam under a new name, new website. There's a
It's a
lot of
it's a
scams
non-human
that,
multi-level marketing organization. That's what it is.
yeah, it's kind of like that, but there's really only two levels, the people being scammed and the people taking all the money.
Right. But they're making you think there are all these legitimate people who are actually just artificial profiles.
Yeah, you can get Telegram bots or other social media bots for pretty cheap if you're an attacker and have them say whatever you want and support your thing, convince people that your thing is legitimate.
Okay.
Um,
So what should people do
it,
when they're getting something? Especially there's a lot of people who are looking for extra money or are out of work and looking for a new job. Obviously, if they're getting something, I mean, we've had several viewers send in to us all the same thing saying, I'm from Indeed and we have a job offer for you. You got a great profile and we have a perfect offer for you. And they're asking, what should they do? So what advice do you have for people who are getting things, even if they use the name of Indeed.com or any kind of recruiting or this kind of offer for task-based work? What should people do? Should they ignore it? Is there a way they can check it? What do you recommend?
Well, a lot of these scams first off send unsolicited text messages that say, we've heard from a lot of recruiters that you're great. You should stop and think, why is someone sending me a text message? That's not how these companies do business. Who are these recruiters they heard about me from? And there's also other cues. They give addresses, email addresses, websites that don't match the company's official information.
Hmm.
And then there's some weird things that they put in. Often they include must be 25 years old. Why 25? I don't know, but it's often 25 is the requirement for these scams.
Interesting. Okay. So should people basically ignore them?
Yeah,
Safe
they
and
should
said.
ignore them.
Mhm.
They can report the text message to their phone provider, but these scams rotate through different accounts faster than people can report.
Right.
So I know it's important to report things, but it's not necessarily going to protect them as an individual. It's going to make awareness
It's
for
for the
people who
greater
look into
good.
this stuff like me. But
Yeah, it's for the greater good. Yeah. Well, and then people like you
Mhm.
get a hold of it and hopefully you take down the cybercrime ring and help more people stay safe. So it's good karma, if nothing else.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Okay, so besides those, what are some of the other things then that you're seeing occurring?
as far as the job scams, I think a lot of younger people, I'm just barely old enough to remember when stores used to post bad checks up on their wall and say, don't accept checks from these people.
Uh,
And there were a lot of scams earlier I know of that were depicted in media where people are writing bad checks. It seems like younger people don't quite understand checks so well. They think they scan it on their mobile deposit and they see the number on their app. So they think that that's money in their pocket, but really the bank is required to have a funds availability policy before they even touch the check,
Mhm.
meaning that some of that money shows as available. That doesn't mean the check is good though. And the scammers know this. They take advantage of this. They say, well, look at your bank account. It should show that the money is there. It means the check cleared. So
Oh,
proceed with the next step, which the next step would be buy this computer from this vendor.
mm-hmm.
And of course, they own the vendor, and you're not going to get a computer. They're just going to run away with your money, and you're stuck with the bad check that's going to bounce. So you're actually negative. That money bounces, and you bought fake computer for $2,000.
Oh, wow. That's a really great point. So what they're actually doing, the only reason the bank is giving you any funds off of that check is because of your good relationship with the bank, not because of the check. They're assuming that you're depositing a good check, and they're giving you the benefit of the doubt. So they're advancing you some money before the check clears. And then
Yeah.
the scammers are taking advantage of your good name with the bank to try to say that that's proof that their money is good. That's a new one. I hadn't heard that one. That's really something.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad check scams that are blowing up because young people just, aren't aware of how the checks really work, the funds availability policies, and the time to actually clear a paper check. There's scams that say, "Well, we'll pay you $2,000 for talking to me," for example,
Right.
and people think they hit the jackpot. I'll just talk to this person. But no, they'll say, "I've sent you $5,000. I want you to make a charitable donation in good faith with some of that." Of
Right.
course, they're the charity. They're getting the money, and then they ghost you.
And then, of course, they're appealing to your, philanthropic side and
Hmm.
wanting to do good side, which is also a distraction. I mean, that's a big thing about social engineering. Like sometimes, like you were talking about the on the job scam, even saying you have to be 25. Sometimes just putting those things in, because I've studied neuroscience and how our brains work, it distracts you from questioning who this is from. It because it gives you something that you have to think about. And so thinking 25 or just throwing little sentences in like that are, it's like saying, oh, look, a puppy, and you forget what you're supposed to be doing. And so that's very, very interesting what you're saying about these scams. This is a great tip, I tell you, for all of our listeners who knows anybody in their 20s, early 30s, or younger. This is a great tip to share with them. So share this podcast, or tell them what to do to protect themselves, because this is a big one. And we all have a lot of people in our lives that are not my age, and did not grow up with traditional checking primarily, and so it's an add-on, and these cyber criminals are taking advantage of the lack of information and experience. That's really something. So what else are you seeing coming up, especially as we're coming into this year and looking, I mean, what let's talk about this for a second. We talk about AI tools in the hands of cyber criminals and how it's making bad hackers good, good hackers great, and great hackers virtually unstoppable. What are the things you're seeing with AI in powered scams that you could explain to our audience so they can know what to be looking for? And because a lot of people think, oh, I'm not important enough to get hacked, or I'm not rich enough to get hacked, because they're thinking somebody actually is going to be spending time trying to hack them. Could you explain, the whole issue behind bots and AI tools now, and the scale that these cyber criminals have?
Sure. So if you follow the news, you'll see things, sensationalized things. Oh, there's this AI system that's hacking companies or developing new exploits that, sort of you picture the Hollywood thing, all this lines of code going by. But really, just like all the top scams and attacks, it comes down to social engineering. I watch these channels where scammers teach each other things that we take for granted. I watched a tutorial on how to order pizza. So all these scammers were excited to understand how to order a pizza to their victims to gain their trust.
Mm,
And um, those sort of things are really what AI is going to advance. Instead of having a tutorial where people gather to learn to order a pizza, AI is putting a tool in everyone's pocket where everyone can become a master con artist and just ask, how do I order my victim a pizza or flowers or some other thing to gain their trust?
mhm.
And the social engineering is really what AI is advancing. I'm seeing tools pop up, tools being sold by major being used by major threat actors for the past several months. I've followed these conversations where they talk about these AI tools. These ones haven't been in the news. They will be pretty soon, but they're developing conversations in emails that didn't happen and conversations over the phone that respond to what you say because that's really what AI is good at is having a conversation and getting people to continue and telling you what to say, things like that. It's not going to hack your computer. It's going to hack your trust, make you trust the wrong people for the wrong reasons. And that's, I think, the big change that's going to come in 2026. We saw some really interesting attacks evolve over 2025, though, like ClickFix. This was really hot. It was hardly existing in 2024, and then it blew up in 2025. And again, this comes down to social engineering. It's a family of social engineering attacks to get people to run malware.
Hmm.
And usually you think of running malware, oh, I downloaded this file on my computer and ran it. These click fix attacks are an approach to make you download and run files without even knowing you downloaded anything.
Wow. So you're
There's
not official. Maybe there's an attachment, maybe or something, or a link, and you're thinking you're being smart by not clicking on it, but you're actually getting malware downloaded.
Right. It's a pop-up that says there's a problem. It could be a lot of different problems. One super effective one is with Zoom meetings. If the attacker can convince you to have a Zoom meeting, they'll send you a link to a site. Say this is a job interview. I give you the job
Mm,
offer of a lifetime, but you
right.
need to have the interview. So you show up on the Zoom link and it's time for it to start. They can't hear you. You're going to lose the job offer.
Uh,
But then some instructions pop up saying hit Windows key or yeah, Windows key R or Windows key E and then Windows key V or Control V. There's different key combinations they come up with, but hitting those simple key combinations is actually pasting code into your terminal or into your PowerShell or even into your file upload dialog. They've gotten pretty creative at spots they can get you to paste the code in. And when you hit enter, it runs the code, which silently downloads the malware, runs it on your computer, and it solves the problem. Whatever the problem it was, whether it's your microphone, your printer, sometimes the scam is that you don't have the right fonts installed, and you hit the key combination, suddenly you can see the fonts, they become clear. They're so creative on the
so you
different
don't know
things
you've just
that,
downloaded malware because you're getting what they're telling you you're going to get, but they're giving you a hidden payload with that.
right. Now, due to some recent Windows updates, you will see on a lot of these attacks, you'll see a black box flash quickly and disappear,
Hmm.
but you won't see the code being run. And then if the interviewer is trying to get your attention, maybe you won't think about that code that ran. Or if something else comes up, or something you can read your document, you don't think about the code that you don't think about the black box, you just want to read your document. So once that problem is fixed, people just don't even think about, did I really see something? Did I not see something? Well, it's fixed. It must be okay.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for that. Now, we've got some breaking news here. Tell us about these new things that are coming that are going to hit the news eventually, but haven't been out there that you're seeing so that people can know how to spot them.
So it's hard to spot the AI generation of emails, for example.
Right.
I've been investigating this tool that some pretty big names in phishing are using to send out at least 1 million phishing emails per week.
Mm,
But one thing is that if you look at the conversations it's generating, the people and the companies they're at don't match what the conversation should be.
okay.
So if you see a
So
conversation generated by
looking at the email is still going to help you.
it is this particular tool, it can generate a conversation. So you get an email saying, oh, this invoice is overdue. The tool will add a conversation to it. But it's this feature of it is not that great because these are people you don't know.
Hmm.
It pretty soon it'll be able to figure out who you know and use those names. Right now, it's just random names that match your geographic location.
Okay. But as soon as they figure out who you're connected to on social media or LinkedIn or all the ways that marketers, as well as as well as cybercriminals can get a hold of your connections. They'll be
Yeah,
able
it's
to
just a
use
matter of
names in
time.
your network. Hmm.
Uh-huh. Right now it's random, but maybe the next product that the competitor to this product will come out with, maybe it pulls that data from Facebook or something
Hmm.
and it puts names you see and know into the email.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
only a matter of time. That's why I say that the AI is going to turn, pretty low level scammers into master con artists when
it
it
really
enables
has.
these different features.
It really has. And last year has been crazy. I mean, as soon as it came out in November 2022, within 6 weeks, the hacking of bad hackers was through the roof. And just every year, I mean, it's just, for it's thousands of percent of improvement, every year, if not every quarter. What should people do then when they're getting an email? Now everybody's afraid to read their email. But when you have email from somebody, what should they be looking for, and what action should they take so they can stay safe?
Attackers love particular cues, most of all anxiety. They want to create anxiety in you. Now that is a red flag. If you read something or you answer a phone call and it's creating anxiety, it's really hard to do this, but the best move is to hang up and let your brain catch up with your heart. Call back on a known good number. Just pause, take a breath, slow down. Anything to slow down, make that panic go away so you can think about it rationally. Because when we start to panic over a message, it shuts down some blood flow in our prefrontal cortex and shuts
Right.
down that critical thinking. And scammers know this and they hit this cue hard. That's the biggest cue they use is panic, anxiety to start to manipulate you. So then really it's about like how we respond when we see or hear an attack like that. We have to recognize that's causing anxiety and stop even though it's really hard at the moment, stop, pause until we can think about what's actually going on.
Right. No, that makes total sense. One of the obviously we're coming into tax season here and stuff, and so all the IRS scams and coming up, and of course every year there's so many people who it'll find out after they filed their taxes that they already got a return, and it went
Yeah.
to somebody else. But when we're talking about finances, one of the questions we get a lot is, well, if I get a call from my bank itself, it's okay, right? So that's a question that is asked in several different ways by our viewers. What advice do you have, and what's really going on there?
People don't realize how easy it is to make a call look and sound like it's coming from your bank. They
Mhm.
don't realize that the caller ID is set by the caller and not by their carrier. If I have a call come through T-Mobile, T-Mobile doesn't choose what I see on the caller ID. The caller, their company does. And there's countless companies that are corrupt and or compromised, and you can just type whatever you want, and they'll send it out the wire. It goes out a certain network and back in a different point to clear away bad information. It's pretty tricky what they're doing now, but the bottom line is that they can make it say anything they want, and they have recordings of what the bank sounds like when they call about a certain thing. So
Mm,
there's these bots. You
mhm.
can these bots can hit lots of people really fast, and they they use AI voices. They make a call. You see Chase Fraud Department. The number matches Chase Fraud Department. You answer. It says, "Hello, this is Chase Fraud Department," and they say, "We need to verify your identity. There's been some fraudulent transactions. We need to approve different ruses." But what they're trying to do is to get you to send them that PIN, the one-time password.
Right.
You'll see a six-digit code pop up, and you'll think that's from the phone call, but really it's because an attacker is trying to access your account. The bank sent you that six-digit PIN.
Right.
The goal of the phone call is to get you to type the PIN on your pad on your cell phone, and the caller bot can recognize the sounds those numbers make when you touch them on your phone,
Yes.
and the number will show up on the attacker's computer and go into the form and authorize their access to your account.
Right. Like, so people, there was a time I remember when I was a kid, I could tell what the phone number was when with the touchpad on a phone
Yeah.
keypad. You could tell what a nine was, and if you memorized them, because they were, and I guess because I was come from a musical family, I it was easier for me. But you could actually. tell what the phone number was or what people were dialing in. So they can do the same thing on the keypad of your phone and know what the PIN is. So really, you think that it's Chase, fraud department, asking you for the PIN, but what they're doing is communicating with Chase and intercepting Chase's communication to you to verify that you want to access your account. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're sitting there at the login screen. It says enter your MFA code, enter your six-digit
Right.
code.
Mm-hmm.
They send that to the bot. The
Mm-hmm.
bot calls you, makes you type it on your keypad, and that shows up on the attacker screen so they get past that prompt.
So you've just
And
let hackers into your account.
yep. And then what happens next is it plays the thank you script. The bot explains, okay, we've fixed everything. You won't see anything unusual on your account because we've cleared the problems from your account and everything is fine now. So if you go to the bank website, nothing will show there, but they just told you they cleared away the problems, everything's fine, you don't have to worry. But while you're listening to this message, that's when the attacker is clearing out your account, when you're listening to this thank you message at the end of the bot's call.
Okay. And then you go in and you find out maybe your account's been drained or whatever has happened, correct?
Yeah, they hope that you don't log in that
Right.
day because they just told you everything's fine. But if you do
Right.
log in, there's a slim chance, depending on the type of the attack, there's a window where you can have that reversed. It gets pretty complicated if you're talking
Right.
about trying to reverse transactions, though,
So
depending
we
on
do
the
it. We
wire
do.
versus. Yeah.
Right. And we do advise everybody to turn MFA and 2FA on everything they can, which is still a foundational practice. It's just that, of course, with more and more people doing it, and I think the last statistics I saw is that only a third of Americans actually have MFA and 2FA turned on everything. But it is, the more people do it, the harder it is for hackers to get in. So they're finding a way around that. So for people who have MFA on their, and now we're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to get a call from my card company or my bank. What should they do?
Well, if your bank calls you, hang up and call them. No matter what the script is that tries to get you to panic, tries to get you to convince you that if you don't follow instructions right now, the world's going to end, you'll get arrested and your bank will be empty. Whatever they're telling you on the
Right.
call, you hang up, take
Yeah, now,
60
now is it fair to say you
seconds.
could say thank you, but to make sure this is legitimate, I'm going to hang up and call you back?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Although if it's a robot, that's an advantage of using the robot to call you because you can't argue with a robot, you can't verify anything with the robot. You either have to take it
Right.
or leave it.
But
But
just in
still,
case it
you hang
really is
up.
your bank or credit, I'm sure there are people out there thinking, but what if it really is my credit card? I don't want to hang up on them. So in on the out in on the what 5-10% chance that is your bank or credit card company or whatever the percentage is, if you just say, I'm going to hang up and call you back at your main number, and then there's at least a record that that you've acknowledged it and that you're
Yeah.
taking action. And then that way, and then you're going to find out, yes, that was us, or probably, especially in growing numbers, you're going to find out, no, that wasn't us. It's good you didn't talk to them.
Yeah, a real bank will tell you, okay, hang up and call the number on the back of your card. The scammer will tell you, no, wait. If you hang up, we'll arrest you. We'll take all
Right.
all your money will be gone.
Your car,
Something like
your
that.
charges aren't going, your mortgage isn't going to get paid, whatever it is, they're going to
Yeah.
use something to trigger your fight or flight. Yeah, because the way our brains
Hmm.
work, if you go into fight or flight in your midbrain, you're not in your prefrontal thinking. You're literally not in your right mind. Your right mind, where you make
Hmm.
all the right decisions. They are masters at getting you out of that. So,
Yeah, they are masters because they do that all day and they have organizations where the boss monitors who's good at the social engineering scams, what
mhm,
tactics they use, and then they copy those and assign those scripts to everyone else in the organization. They see who's good. It literally evolves
yeah,
to, they have a whole lot of people all day figuring out what works and what doesn't, and then they spread that, and
yes,
it's
yeah.
natural selection for scams and phishing, basically.
No, companies, just general companies, could learn a lot about great leadership from the best practices of cyber crime rings. I mean, they have CEOs, HR departments, customer service reps, and they are great at rewarding the people who are best at what they do, and training people who aren't. And the average company could learn a lot in management practices just from these people because they have it down. And unfortunately, they are very, very good at what they do. So this has been really, really fascinating. What else is going on in 2026 that people should be aware of and keep their eyes out for?
Thank you. We're seeing new phishing technologies pop up. The attacker in the middle, adversary in the middle proxies, they're not necessarily new anymore, but a lot of people still don't quite understand how modern phishing websites work.
Yeah, could you explain that
So,
for our listeners? Because I just saw a statistic yesterday that half of all Americans don't even understand what phishing is. Now, a lot of our listeners are smarter and safer, so they do, but just give everybody the 101 on that. Because when you talk, and then you're going to talk about a phishing kit, and I'm sure they'd love to know what is a phishing kit?
so a sophisticated phishing attack will come from someone you know because they fell for the attack. These attacks grow exponentially. Once someone falls for it, they get compromised. The attack goes out to everyone in their contact list. Those people fall for it, goes out to everyone in their contact list. So it's not misspelled email from a far off land, usually for the sophisticated ones. It's, hey, I need you to review this document from your real estate agent, from the person you had a meeting with a month ago, from a client. It's a small business that clicked on something. You get that email, it tells you to follow a link to view the document, and then you're prompted. It's usually a Microsoft login.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a Gmail account, it would be a Gmail login. Microsoft 365 is the number one target, but the link will go to some sort of initial ruse, like a blurry document is really popular. Oh, you want to see the non-blurry form, you need to log into Microsoft, and it'll forward you to the Microsoft login. Now, what's going on is there's a server sitting there in the middle between you and Microsoft, and it's communicating between both of you. So you see what you expect to see, Microsoft login prompt. Or if you use Okta, it'll show you Okta because it's sitting there in the middle showing you the real data from the real company. And when you enter your credentials, that's going to the real company. They're sitting there in the middle. So even if you have MFA,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see the prompt, complete your MFA, use your authenticator app, type in your OTP, whatever you always see every day, you'll
Mm-hmm.
still see that. And the attacker's in the middle relaying that information, and they
Right.
grab your browser cookie. So you complete the login process that actually logs them in to your account. But it looks normal. It's got the MFA, it's got the logos. If your company has a logo there, you still see the logo on the login because it's
Mm-hmm.
just sitting there in the middle relaying that information back and forth.
Right.
Now, typically in the past, and it's still good, we say look at the URL bar
Mm-hmm.
because it won't match. But there's a certain type of attack that was theoretical for quite a while. Now it's becoming rolled out into these kits. I can explain what the kit is in a minute, but the browser in the browser attack creates a pop-up, and the URL in the pop-up is correct. It's microsoftonline.com, for example, in
Mm-hmm.
that window. But the window is just a graphic that's being drawn inside of a bigger window.
Mm-hmm.
How you can test for this is you try to drag that Microsoft Online window off your screen. You'd have to have a big enough screen, but you drag it outside of the browser, off onto the desktop. A real window you can drag wherever you want to around on your computer. But if it's
Right.
a fake pop-up, you can't drag it past the window that it's inside of.
Oh, that's
So that's the
good.
giveaway there.
Oh, that is a great tip and a
Mhm.
good hack to outsmart hackers. So that's great.
And
Yeah, and
these
those used to be
kits,
called man in the middle attacks, and now they're called adversary in the middle or AIM or AITM. So
yeah, published in the past year usually says adversary in the middle, where if you look at textbooks, it's man in the middle. And
right.
some AI will tell you they mean different things, but it's actually the same thing. It's
Hmm.
just different years. The words were favored differently.
Right, right. So with that, then what are people likely to see coming this year that they're not looking for, that they do not want to get? What's the gift they don't want to be getting?
Well, those browser and the browser kits might be getting more common. They're not
Mhm.
very common yet. So
Okay.
be able to make sure to test for it by dragging that window outside. And
Hmm.
there's more sophisticated phishing approaches like man in the browser, there's browser in the machine, different technologies to make it look more and more real, like the real site.
Mm.
But the bottom line is that if you're trying to stay ahead of the technology, it's it's not it's a hard game to win. So you have to stay ahead of the head of the psychology to really stay
That
ahead of these attacks.
that is really great advice. Stay ahead of the psychology because I think, there most people the reason we even call our company Smarter Online Safety is because nobody wants to learn cybersecurity unless they're actually going into cybersecurity, but everybody wants to be safe. And the whole point is,
Mhm.
how can you stay safer and smarter online without actually becoming a cybersecurity professional or getting a certification or becoming the IT guy? And, I think one of the ways is really to recognize that psychology and that if you're being put in a position of panic or where that you don't have time to do something, you're not being given choice and you're being given a dire consequence if you don't do it, that's got to be a red flag. That should be the same red flag as running out in the street without looking both ways in this day and age.
Yeah,
That is really, really great advice. So stay ahead of the psychology, and then you got to stay current on what's coming so you could spot it when you see it. Now, if somebody sees something like this, they've got to be questioning, okay, am I really communicating with Microsoft? And you've just given everybody a great tip on how to know if they can drag the window out. It's highly probable to trust it. There are no 100% in cybersecurity, as we know, but uh,
right.
but you've got
The
to protect yourself.
closest we have right now is passkeys. It's
Mhm.
it takes a very sophisticated setup to be able to compromise a passkey and not something that's available commercially right now. But well, commercially, I mean on the underground marketplaces. So the
Mhm.
passkey is some services, a great growing number of services will give you the option, do you want to create a passkey? That stores an encrypted certificate on your device
Right.
that never leaves your device. So
Mhm.
it's not like a password that gets sent out across the wire. Because it never leaves your device, it's very difficult to compromise. And the passkey is the best defense against phishing that's out there right now technologically.
That's great to know. So how should people set it up? And I've had this question from people too. If they have they have a computer and they have a phone, how do they use passkeys? What's the 101 for people to know how to do this well without being overwhelmed by it?
Well, for me personally, I store the passkeys on my phone, and then to use them, when I log into Microsoft on a computer, I hold my phone up to the computer and scan the QR code.
Right.
Then I can also log into things on my phone. If you want to take things to the next level, then of course there's YubiKeys,
Right.
which,
Sorry, YUBI, YubiKeys.
yeah.
Hmm.
But if you use any form of passkey, you're already no longer the low-hanging fruit. You're above the vast majority, and you're safe against the vast majority of phishing attacks.
Right. And that's a great point because it's kind of a bell curve, right? As long as there's low-hanging fruit, and the average person is falling for things, that's where most hackers go. Now, obviously, if you're a highly targeted individual because you're
Yeah.
worth millions of dollars or you're the CEO or CFO of an organization, you've got extra precautions you've got to do. But for the average person, if you're using the most secure means, you are taking yourself out of the general pool of victims and targets.
Yeah, definitely. Most of the cyber criminals that do phishing, for example,
Mhm.
they're buying subscriptions. It's $200 a month to buy a subscription from a cybercrime organization that manages phishing software. And then
Mhm.
you just take their package, you can deploy it, you write your emails, you buy a compromised email sender from another company, another cybercrime company. You
Right.
just buy all the pre-made parts and you put the pipeline together and run the phishing. And they're looking for low-hanging fruit, what's profitable. They don't want to spend an hour, 5 hours on someone who isn't going to be profitable. They want to have their automation spend 10 seconds on each person and take
Right.
what they can get. For most
Right.
cyber criminals, there's of course exceptions, but
Right.
the commodity
But for the
cybercrime
bulk of
out
them,
there,
yeah, for the bulk of them, if
yeah.
they can't get into you, the bot or the person, but usually the bot is just going to go on to the next person, right? It's kind of like porch pirates around the holidays, if you've got a guard dog and a gated fence and all this stuff, the porch pirates who want to steal your Amazon packages are going to go to, a more desirable house on the block. So you're not, are you
Yeah.
100% safe? No, you're not in a bunker and, and all of that, but you can become highly undesirable.
Right. Some of those phishing operators are sending out 100,000 emails per week. They don't want to sit there and spend even 10 minutes on an individual that
Yeah.
is not, they don't know is going to be profitable because what is that? A million minutes a week? It's just not possible.
Right.
So they're
And
trying to
time is
spend,
money. Time is money for them.
yeah, yeah,
Wow. Well,
they're
this was
just
great advice.
spending out.
So set up passkeys for especially let's go through it. So retirement account, banking accounts, like I like to say, anything that could ruin your year or your life is worth putting, a passkey on and turning it in.
It's
And
true.
even the email to reset things, if you're using MFA, a lot of people might put it on their retirement account or their bank account, but forget to put any kind of protection on the email where the bank's going to help them reset their password, right? If a hacker gets into your email and can reset your password, or you have email MFA, instead of text on your phone, all of that can be coming in, correct?
Yeah, it creates more and more steps that the attackers have to do. And for some people, some attackers will do it. Most of them will just move on to the next in the list.
This is so
Um,
great.
but it's actually great to set up MFA on all accounts because just like when I stand up to get a cup of coffee, I lock my screen even if there's no one around. It's
Mhm.
because if you develop these habits when things don't matter, accounts that don't matter, times that don't matter, you don't need to think about them on the times that do. There's this saying, people say it comes from the Navy, but it's actually ancient Greece, I think, dates back to ancient Greece.
Mhm.
Something like we don't rise to the occasion, we drop to the level of our training and our habits.
Yeah, I think that was Seneca in ancient Rome. Yeah, your level of preparedness, you fall to your level of preparedness. Right? Yes, that's a
Mhm.
great saying, and that's so true. That if people adopt that, especially this year, they're going to have a safer year because whatever your baseline is, that's where you're going to go when you're under pressure from the hackers trying to manipulate you into panic or fear. You're not going to rise to your highest level. That is such great advice. Really, really good.
Some people make the mistake of thinking they're different. Some people like to think that when attackers hit, they're going to be like Brad Pitt in Fight Club. They're cool, calm, they can handle everything. But really, it's more human nature to become Edward Norton in Fight Club, where he's sweaty, he's nervous, he's trying to hold it all together. And if he's done his training and habits, he's going to be following those habits, locking his screen, putting MFA there, even when it doesn't matter, hanging
Mhm.
up on the phone when it's not so important, just to verify, for example. So when it is a real attack, you don't have to think through these things logically because that logic is shut down. You can't think through things and do them differently than you're used to when that critical thinking is being shut down.
That's so true. And I think most people are familiar with this with, fire drills at school and workplaces and and earthquake drills if you live in California and think, but there's drills, tornado drills in the Midwest, but there are these drills for a reason. It's like here's what you do when when X happens, you do Y. And
Yeah,
you do
exactly.
that for your own online safety and around your cyber protections. They're going to become you're creating a habit, right? And then
Mhm.
you'll remember what to do under pressure. Oh, such great advice. Travis, thank you so much. And remind people again, where can they find you to learn more about all the ways to follow you and engage with you? And we'd love to have you back on the show again in next quarter or two.
Well, I've recently started a YouTube channel. There's not much there yet. It's called Behind the Surface, where I dissect some of these things and
Awesome.
demonstrate attacks. And I show these discussions the attackers are having when they're planning these attacks, even. And I've also started doing some blogging of analysis. I have a blog called Behind the Surface. And so I've done threat research for quite a while, and I kind of got frustrated having such a small audience to show this really cool stuff to. So I'm actually still learning how to reach a wider audience, submit to conferences, talk more on LinkedIn instead of being quiet and watching so much. So I'm still learning all of this, but I'm trying to get the message out to people about these new attacks and what it really takes to be safe against them. You don't have to be a technical wizard. You have to understand the psychology and build good habits and do things on a daily basis, not when the attacks happen.
That is so great. And thank you. Thank you for all that you've done and all you're doing. And thank you for all the great tips that you've just shared with all of our listeners today. I know being in cybersecurity for years myself, where you and I come from the same thing. You stay hidden. Your goal is to stay hidden, and then to suddenly get in the spotlight so that you can help educate people goes against everything that you're taught. So thank you for coming
Yeah.
on this and sharing all this great advice and these great insights. And look at this, everybody. You heard it here before it hits your evening news. And this is really something that you can share with your loved ones, friends, family, colleagues, so that they can stay safe and you can protect yourself. And it gives you some great tabletop conversation as well. Travis, thank you
Does,
so
yeah.
much. It's been such a pleasure having you on.
Well, thanks. It's been great to be a guest.